Today on the Hear Them Out with Hannah Mears podcast, I am with Coach Sean Spencer. Coach, how are you today?
I'm good.
I love to hear that. It looks really nice outside where you are. It's looking kind of crappy here where I am. It's going to rain soon.
Well, I'm in State College, so
Yeah.
I've been here remotely for about 3 weeks now. So
there you go. What's it been like so far? I mean, you're transitioning into the NFL now, still in State College. Obviously, everyone's kind of remote. So what's that transition been like? It's a little unorthodox, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, the one thing is I got there around, I don't know, February 2nd or something like that. So we just started kind of like preliminary meetings as defensive staffs and total staff interviews, and then just getting to know the guys. And then obviously we got ready for the combine, so a lot of our day was spent watching guys, that we're going to see at the combine, kind of gathering information and everything like that. So, that went really well. And then, obviously Cease Hulk, I was actually at Nebraska going to their pro day. I was scheduled to have a couple interviews, and then we got the call that everybody had to return to the office. So I actually never saw the pro day. So that was kind of disappointing, my first
absolutely.
time being out on the road, and so everybody pulled back then. And so we kind of, we started being in the office, and then we kind of just made the decision. Coach Judge made that decision to just send everybody home right before. He did it actually before we got the stay-at-home orders. So we kind of got ahead of it so that everybody could be with their families and things. And then we just been learning how to Zoom and as a staff. And, I think I'm pretty good at this stuff now.
Yeah, you got on here pretty nicely, and I'm glad to see that because I've been watching my parents try to learn how to do all this, and it's not easy for everybody.
Yeah. So
got connected pretty quickly, so it's good.
No question, especially when you send a good link like that.
Right. You're welcome.
And like I said, the staff, we got the staff together on the Zoom, and we've had a couple interviews with potential guys that are on the draft board, interviewing those guys. And so I think I got a pretty nice setup in my room. I got like 3 devices going, so I can talk about different things with some of the prospects. So it's cool,
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you're up with the technological times that this quarantine has brought. So that's good.
Okay. So I wouldn't say I'm up with it. I would say I have a working knowledge of it. I would not necessarily say, yeah, I'm up with it. I have a working knowledge of it.
All right. Well, you've got the AirPods in, you've got it going a little bit. So I'll give credit where credit's due. I'll give it where it's due. But what?
And I stay swagged out. So
here we go. Oh yeah. Speaking of which, you didn't wear the Wild Dogs chain.
I thought about it. I just put the cross on today. I thought about it. I was like, Hannah like this one, but I said, I'll put. But the next time we do another one, I'll wear it.
All right. And just for everybody's knowledge out there, just to know, Coach Spence has promised me that at one point in my life, I will be able to put on the Wild Dogs chain. I've earned that somehow, some way. So
always giving
on record now.
Always taking care of the guys. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Something also that you mentioned was that you are in the process right now, moving in with the Giants into their organization. And with the draft coming up, it is so out there of how it's going to work and everything going on. So what has that process been like so far? I know you mentioned having a conversation with some of the guys, but what else has been sort of difficult with that process so far and how you've been handling the draft?
Well, I think anytime you can't be face to face with the people in the organization, it always creates some, some not issues, but just challenges. I would say, because you're not looking at people face to face. But I mean, we communicate on the phone, coaches, scouts, etc. And then, like I said, we were able to get a couple of guys on phone calls and Zooms, and coming up here and. Very shortly we'll start having more meetings with the guys, more formal, like, so to speak, meetings where it's more than just me in the room, the head coach and coordinators and some scouts. So it'll be as if we had them physically in our presence and we were able to interview.
I like that. Yeah, no, at least for now, we're blessed to have some sort of way to be making this work. So I'm glad you guys have found a way for now to be able to make that work. But I'm really proud of you, Coach. It's really cool to see you be able to start taking the next step in your career and move into the professional side of football. That's really
Thank you.
exciting for me as a person who's got to grow up and know you, but as well as a Penn State fan rooting for you. But something really cool about Coach Spence, you have quite the process to get there, and I think it's important for a lot of young guys that there's a dog in the background. How cute! I think for
That's not a wild dog. That's just a regular one.
that's not a wild dog. All right. That's good to know. Good to know. Maybe today. But I think something really important, especially for younger guys who look up to you and want to get to the position that you're in one day. It's really important for them to know that you did start somewhere smaller. So what was the process like for you moving up the coaching ranks? And I'm talking like starting way back in your first coaching job.
Well, I started at Wesleyan University in Connecticut, where I was a graduate assistant there. It's a Division III school in the NESCAC conference, which is the New England Small College Athletic Conference. So there's schools like Amherst, there's schools like Trinity, and we kind of called ourselves a small Ivy League. So that's where I started my coaching. I went from there. I went to Shippensburg University, which is in the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference, and it's the same conference that I played in because I played at Clarion.
Right.
So the process from there is just going from there to. You want me to tell you all the jobs because I know them all.
Yeah, go ahead. Just tell me the process you went through. I know like the background of going through and what you went through, but more importantly, sort of the lessons that starting smaller and moving your way up to a Division I college and now the league.
Right.
You.
Well, that's what I tell you. Every experience is a good experience. And the things that I learned when I was at Wesleyan and Trinity and Shippensburg, the smaller schools where actually you had to do everything. There wasn't a lot of support staff, so you had to do recruiting. You had to make your own tapes. You had to, and it's kind of like what's happening now. You're kind of on your own. You can call the IT guys, but you still got to figure it out on your own. But just learning those things and really trying to master my craft wherever I was at. I wanted to always leave places better when I left than when I got there. And if I can keep that going, I think that success rate will continue. There was never a job too big or too small for me. Very humble, willing to do everything, but also learn how to voice my opinion, because I think that's really important that, you just can't just voice your opinion on every single thing that's out there, but take time to listen to people and calculate what you're going to say and present those in such a manner that people respect what you're saying. And I think that was a great lesson for me. I think it helped me become a really good communicator with my players, with recruits, with parents. I always spoke from my heart. I kept it 100. Like the guys will say all the time, I keep it real. Shaka told him to say, keep it bean.
There you go. All right, so they kept you up with the language.
I'm down.
Shaka's a great person to learn from, let me tell you.
So, I just, going through that process really to be where I'm at right now and to have coached in SEC, to coach in Big Ten, coaching at Penn State, growing up in Connecticut, playing football college, and becoming a Penn State coach, that was like unbelievable to me. Like, the process to get there. And then getting an opportunity to coach for the New York Giants coming from Connecticut. I mean, you couldn't put this better in a movie. There's not a better script. But what I will tell you is what I tell the young guys all the time, man. I tell them to learn your craft and be great at what you do so that people, when they hire you based on your merit. They hire you based on the things that you can do for their program, because there's going to be a job interview. And I always break it down. So, like when I was in college, I said, okay, there are 125 jobs in college. There's 10 programs that will be considered top 10 programs, right? And then there's another 5 that are considered top 5 programs. Well, I was in one of the 5, right? So I'm in one of the 5 top jobs in the country. So that's only 5 jobs per D-line coach.
Right.
So now I got to be the best at the 5, right? And not only the best at the 5, there's only 125 jobs in Division I. And then when you go to the NFL, there's only 32 jobs. So I'm one of 32. So not only did I feel I'm blessed, but also feel like I'm prepared. I prepared for that moment when
Right.
I was when I was afforded the opportunity to interview. I prepared for that moment, and I was gonna be ready for it because of my preparation. So when I talk to the guys about being prepared and learning your craft, they can never take that from you. Now, whether I coach in the NFL for the next 15 years or in 5 or 6 years I become a head coach, there'll be something valuable that I learned from the Giants that'll make me better for the next job. And I always looked at things that way.
I love that. I love your approach to everything. And something that you said, you make sure you prepare for things. So when you sit down in an interview and a team is asking sort of like, why do you feel that you're qualified for this position? What are maybe 3 things that you could sit down and say that you have to offer that somebody else might not have?
One, I think you should know who's going to be in that room interviewing you. If you can't take 5 minutes to Google who the defensive coordinator is, well, obviously you would know that, but the offensive coordinator, a couple of the support staff, if you don't take time to just look at those people before you go into the interview, you already lost. Just know because you're able to make an in-person communication with them, like, hey, I noticed that you went to LaSalle College, or I noticed that you're from Erie, Pennsylvania. Being able to create that environment that you took the time and detail to go in there like that. 2, in terms of preparation, you got to be so prepared, and don't say what you think they want to hear. Say what is coming out of you, because they're going to hire you based on who you are and what you can bring to the table. So the one that can profess the most about themselves is you. So prepare you. Prepare you. Don't try to prepare for something don't talk about something that you're not capable of talking about. I was not going to talk as if I was the offensive coordinator at Penn State because I wasn't. So I won't speak on those terms, right? And then 3, you have to show them that it's something about you because someone came in and interviewed before you,
Right.
and someone came and interviewed after you. When you leave that room, do you make that impression that these people are going to be better because of me? And you got to feel that. And when you walk out of a building and you look back, like, and I'm not giving you this example just for the Giants, but I'm just telling you, I walked out of the Giants facility and I looked back, I saw the sign, and I was like, wow, I just interviewed with the New York Football Giants. And I started, and it just, my history just started going through my brain, like Trinity College, making, X amount of dollars a year. I got my first job at Wesleyan. I started making $10,000 a year. You couldn't tell me nothing. I had my little Chevy Cavalier. I thought that was the best thing.
I had a Chevy Cavalier. A Chevy Cavalier was my first car.
I was rolling in that thing.
Right?
You couldn't tell me anything. You know what I mean?
There's some dangers about people that start off driving Chevy Cavs, okay? I just want to let everybody know.
I know that. I mean, I don't know how I even fit in that thing.
Right? It's not a big car.
No, but I didn't even have XM radio at that time.
Yeah.
I just had to tape the set, and then I had a CD player. Remember the CD player?
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
So, but when I look back and I said, all right, this is it. I did it. I interviewed with the Giants, and prior to that, I had opportunity a couple years ago to interview with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I didn't do it. And I talked to Coach Franklin, and it was like, okay, this is my plan, and that's not the right move for me right now, but this one was right. This one felt right. It felt right. I also felt like I had done a lot of really good things at Penn State, and I felt comfortable leaving. I didn't have to leave,
Right.
and I felt very comfortable. I didn't like the fact that I was leaving my players and guys that I had great effect on their lives for so long, but the fact that I felt comfortable leaving like that. Everything I talked to you about, basically, in this interview, not the resume, but who I am. I felt like when I left Penn State, I felt like I had accomplished those things. I felt like I had done what I said I was going to do. I was going to help bring the program to national prominence, and we will recruit at a high level, and I will be a part of the community and all those things. And it happened. So I was good with it, and a lot of times you leave jobs under duress. I did not leave under duress. I mean, If I told Coach Franklin I wanted to stay, I mean, I would have had a job. But this was sometimes you got to bet on yourself, Hannah. Right?
Yeah.
You got to bet on yourself, and I did
Not
that.
betting on you, nobody is. So.
Huh?
You've got to bet on yourself. If you're not betting on yourself, no one is.
Exactly. So that's what I did. I decided to bet on myself, and I said, it's now I'm going to compete on the highest stage, at the top level in the universe. Right? I mean, we can talk about other sports all we want. We know that the NFL is where it's at in terms of fans and all that stuff, and I got an opportunity to do it, and I'll make best with that opportunity.
I love that. And trust me, Coach, nobody's going to forget Coach Chaos at Penn State and the Wild Dogs.
Especially when you rep the chain. When you rep the chain one time, we blasted on social media.
I'm really hoping. That's the thing. We keep bringing it up. You're making promises. I mean, I drove a Chevy Cab. I'll rep the chain. I mean, we're one and the same.
We'll do a social distancing repping Zoom chain interview.
I'm here for it. But
you can virtually have it.
I do. I love it. But something that everybody at Penn State loved about you was the energy that you brought to the team. And I know even if there's nothing that people remember, they will remember that. And the Wild Dogs, the story of that. So you got to Penn State, you said how excited you were and you wanted to make an impact. Where did the Wild Dogs begin?
Well, so I'll give you the abbreviated version, kind of the cliff notes, so to speak.
Love it.
But so when I was a kid growing up, I used to watch National Geographic like every other kid, right? No, and that's just a little weird. That's cool, I know. But I was fascinated by animals, fascinated by animals. I watch a cheetah, I watch lions. There's this episode about these little wild dogs, these little ugly little things. I mean, just running around, barking, terrible barks. And, patches all over them. They're not cute at all, right? So, they would chase their prey for somewhere between 3 and 5 miles.
Jeez.
And then what they would do is they would strategically surround themselves around that dog, around that prey. And they would take turns biting the animal until the bigger animal, the boar or whatever, would finally succumb to the pack. And they're hunters. They're not like hyenas and some of those other dogs. Those dudes are really scavengers, right? So they wait for the carnage to be on the ground and they eat it. Well, the wild dog will chase and hunt its prey down, but it not only does it, so if me and you were in a pack, you would be forward, you would be running, you get tired, and then they pass each other. And they just keep like you did in high school where you did that one thing around the track and you had to pass the next person, pass the next. Well, that's exactly what they do. So I was fascinated by that, right? And I wanted to niche somewhere when I was coaching D-line at University of Massachusetts, I wanted this niche, like what am I gonna call my guys? But I want to call them this. I want to create a culture. I want the wild dogs to be wherever I go. So I get to UMass, I get to Bowling Green, I get to Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's kind of where it took off. So we were, the Wild Dogs, the 615 Wild Dogs, and Wild Dogs is Wild Dogs. But what happened is we started to put it all together with like military backing too, and like military cosigns in terms of fighting for the guy next to you. Mm-hmm. So it's the wild dog that strategically fights like a precision military that fights for the guy next to him. And what I found out was that the guys embrace it because it's bigger than them, right? It's bigger than them. It is about feeding somebody before you feed yourself. No different than being a parent. That what you do is for your kids, and what you do is for the guy next to you. And when they're able to embrace that, I think we hit that ground running with that, and that's just kind of how I've been. I've already told my guys at New York that will be the New York Wild Dogs, but whenever I can
right.
get that
just
going.
Buy into that, right?
Yeah,
it's
just
working.
So you know.
I mean, I'm excited sitting here just like hearing that story, and all I'm picturing is that circle before the game in the corner of the end zone, and Antonio Shelton's in the middle, and he's breaking down the Wild Dogs. I mean, everybody's eyes are on the Wild Dogs, like that energy and the fight in them. Like, you've done exactly that in bringing that mentality to Penn State, for sure.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. But I actually had the opportunity to talk to Antonio Shelton before this, and
That's awesome.
that might be a little scary. But he gave me the inside scoop on how you affected him as a player, but in the fun ways. And he said something that you're notorious for. So I hope the Giants are putting this in their budget is breaking clipboards. So, especially at, he said, the Ohio State game. He goes, you really gave that clipboard some heck. So why clipboards? What do you have against clipboards, Coach?
It's really the first thing in front of me that I could touch. I mean, I try not to. I'm always talking about composure, but what I do is I like kind of squeeze it until it just like cracks. I've punched through one. That was only one time, but I mean, I was making a point and I was using my marker. My hand went through it. I don't know why that happened. And then I squeezed one, like Antonio still talks about it. I don't know how you squeezed and bent that clipboard like that, but no.
Were you doing your job? Because
yeah, no, it was just a little. It's a passionate break, right? It's not. I'm not upset. Well, kind of, but not like furious. I just, it's just passionate. That's all.
I like that. It's so passionate. We break clipboards. That's what the Wild Dogs do. That's exciting. But he also said there was a funny story about you and an interaction with Rob Windsor, and Rob came to the sideline throwing up. I need to know the background of why Antonio remembers this story specifically.
Well, we have our student managers that work in sports medicine, and they would give us water. That was awesome. They did a great job giving the guys water, being prepared as soon as they came off the field. Rob just made a sack for a play. And he was so excited. And I could tell he had pretty much exhausted any type of energy he possibly had by jumping up and down the way he was. And I saw him coming to the sideline, and I saw his bottom lip drop, and I saw his eyes get big. So the young student trainer was going toward him, and I said, listen, young lady, please back up. I said, he is going to throw up. If you don't back up, he's going to throw up all over you. So she's just doing her job. She was told to give the guys water, so she attempted to give them water. And here comes Rob. And about 2 feet from her, here comes the rest of Rob that threw up all over her feet and almost me. And I told her, I tried to tell you.
Yeah, right.
that this was going to happen.
Oh my gosh, that poor girl. I hope she's okay today, not scarred by that completely, but he's not a little man, so I'm sure it wasn't a baby throw up coming out of him. He was letting it go.
He was coming too. I mean, he just like I told you, he was so excited the couple plays the play after making that play, and then I could tell his face. He was disoriented, and his eyes were hanging, his lip was dropped, and I was like, he's gonna throw up. Please move.
Well, some people break clipboards when they get excited, and some people throw up. So the Wild Dogs are just all over the place with that, right?
We're unique.
Yeah, right? Another thing, the last thing that Antonio mentioned was that there was something about Kent State's tempo that sticks out when he thinks of you. So why is that?
Well, they were a real fast tempo team, and, we tried to emulate it in practice. It's very difficult to do that because they were proficient at it, and they could go real fast. And we talked about they were going to catch you tired, and they were going to try to draw you off sides, and it was going to probably happen in the middle of the field. So what did they do? They did it, and we jumped off sides. And we were told the guys, when you jump off sides, keep playing. It's a live play. They're going to take a shot at the end zone. When they got us the first time, they miscued. Then they got us again, like maybe in the same drive. And he threw a touchdown. And I'll tell you, that's probably the maddest I've ever been. I mean, they came to the sideline. After Coach Franklin got them, they came to the sideline. And I think I went off. Antonio said it was for like 15 minutes straight, but that's impossible. But I definitely went off with no pauses in my sentences or anything for about 5 to 8 minutes in a tirade. When I was done doing that, I thought I was going to pass out. I said, yeah, there's a good chance I'm passing out here. And then, then I came back. I was like, okay, let's get out to the next play. And they're all looking around like, what just happened? This guy just turned into a psycho. But
You were talking so fast. You probably didn't even, nothing was probably even making sense at that point. You were just getting everything that was going through your mind.
I think I went off about it again on the Tuesday meeting. I could swear, I swear I did it twice.
Well, you did it long enough. You did it long enough where that was one of the things that Antonio felt was definitely eminent to mention in this conversation. Yeah. So. But in terms of you now, I mean, you have left that passion at the Wild Dogs and at Penn State forever. And I got to talk to now players that have experienced you at Penn State and now it'll come full circle at the Giants. So I did talk to Saquon, Barkley, and Grant Haley. And something I think that the New York Giants fan base and organization as a whole needs to know is that they're not just getting a great coach, they are getting a great person. And I can say this because the first thing that Grant and Saquon mentioned about you was your passion as a human being and how you impact others' lives. Grant specifically said, he's excited about the deja vu of you being back in the defensive room with him, but how you impact lives on and off the field. And then Saquon shared a story in particular saying that when you first got to Penn State, he said, I'll admit I was struggling with my grades, and Coach Spence was the one to draw up a plan for me and really get to work and help me figure that out step by step to get myself on track. So, what does it mean to you that two of the guys that you've seen as young players and now as men in the league, that they first remember you for who you are as a person? Like, what does that mean to you?
I think that's the whole thing, that football is what I do. Football is not who I am. And I think especially in college, that motto, in pros, you're football 24/7. I get it. But the human element of making relationships with guys that to me is, if they think, when they believe that you got their back, that in those times of the crunch times of need and 4th down and 1, and they'll remember that. And when you say, I need you to go out there and do this, they're going to play for you. And I grew up without a father, and I'm blessed to coach college football. And when I'm done, and now in the NFL, and when I'm done coaching, I would have affected over 3,000 lives or 3,000 people. Because if you think about the hundreds of players on a team and the amount of years I've been coaching, when I'm done, that's what it's going to be. I would have affected or touched the lives of over 3,000 people. And not a lot of professions allow you to do that. But it's such a responsibility for me as a coach and as a man to give back to the things that I did not have when I was growing up. And so things can be your curse, or they can be your backbone. And I choose the backbone. So, I appreciate those guys saying that. That meant a lot to me, for sure. That especially that they would say that. Myself and Saquon's relationship, obviously, I recruited him. I was part of the recruiting process with him, and myself and Coach Huff and Coach Franklin. And, to watch him grow as a man like that, and then Grant, the resiliency he has, and coming from Atlanta and was committed to us at Vanderbilt, and decided to come with us to Penn State. I mean, and then now to go into the NFL with those guys is pretty amazing,
What are you most excited for about getting to reunite with those guys, but in a different setting, and they've already developed themselves into men in the league? What are you most excited for being able to work with them again?
Well, the one thing is, specifically talking about Saquon, we used to talk trash to each other before every period, offense, defense. So that will happen again.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd say, Saquon, what you gonna give us today, man? And if they made a play, he'd come running over to me, dancing in front of me, and and now me and Grant go way back. Now you got to remember now, the block kick against Ohio State.
Oh yeah, how can we forget? I feel like during quarantine, I've probably seen that play like 100 times going through Twitter.
Well, when you talk about speaking things into existence, right? When you talk about, I lost you, buddy. Okay. When you talk about speaking things into existence, we had practiced that play and how we were going to block that kick. in practice, and we kept saying we're gonna get it. And Grant was like, scoop and score, pretend he was gonna score. And when it happened, I mean, I'll never forget that the rest of my life. I mean, that is, I can't believe it just happened. I'm like that, and we just said that would happen, and that's what happened. We said we'll block a kick to win the game, and it happened. You know,
Wow.
I mean, it doesn't always happen like that, but when it does,
Right.
That's pretty cool.
But when it does, it's like, oh yeah, we knew that was gonna
Yep.
happen. We practiced
Yep.
that. We waited for it. I mean, that was probably one of the highlights of my college career. I was a freshman. It was the whiteout, and we rushed the field after. And I'm pretty sure while I was on the field, some guy said like, "Can you help me find Coach Franklin?" I was like, "Yeah," and he threw me up on his shoulders, and I was just like looking around. I was like, "There's no way!" Like, but I'm because and take advantage of it. And then I think he got the hint that I was just like up there, like, "Yeah."
Well, with
exciting.
those two guys in my man cave downstairs, there's two things. Both of them they don't even know because they haven't been over here since they went to the pros. But I have a picture of Saquon on the field in high school with me and Coach Franklin at his game, and someone took a picture of us over a fence. Took a picture of us. I have that picture, and then I have a helmet with the block with Grant Haley on the helmet, signed on the helmet that he scooped and scored, and it's the actual play drawn from the game. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's so cool that you have that like unique relationship with those two guys in particular, and now you're going to get to make memories with them at the highest level and maybe even a Super Bowl. So that's
we don't make predictions, Hannah. Don't do that.
I'm speaking into existence, Coach. I'm speaking into
I know. You can speak it. I'm not.
Hey, I'm a sports fan, so for me to speak that for the Giants, you know you're special. You know you've impacted my life. But, Coach, you've left an impact on so many people, and I mean, just those guys saying the things about you, Antonio Shelton sharing stories, and the fan base at Penn State absolutely loved you. What is one thing that you want to say to Nittany Nation after your time being at Penn State as you move forward?
Well, I mean, just being at Penn State and being a part of the community, and my family's been a part of the community and everything. It's just I've been a lot of places. I've coached football for over 20 years, and this place will always be special to me. The way the people are, heck, I'm still living here, but the way the people are, the way they treat you, the passion, the way they embrace they've embraced myself, and the fans embrace my family, and just embrace the Wild Dogs and what we were trying to do, and always supporting us. And, with any great fan base, when it's good, it's good. When it can get bad, it can get bad. But, in just terms of me living here in State College, this is, spending the last 6 years of my life here, this is one of the most memorable places that I've ever been a part of. I just love the people here. I love the energy and the passion of the town. And, hopefully when we get through this pandemic, everything can go back to normal. But this has been an unbelievable experience for me. I mean, I just – the guys at the Giants bust my chops all the time. They go, everything Penn State, Coach. Everything ain't Penn State. They always. We did our first Zoom meeting, and I had on a hat, and Coach Graham goes, "Dude, do you have on a Penn State hat?" I was like, "No, it was a white Giants hat." They were just funny. They're funny about that. They're always getting on me about that. It's like, you love everybody at Penn State, so.
Oh,
but I do.
So. They don't get it because they weren't there. But I mean, Penn State's a special place. Absolutely. I love it.
So one thing I think that is awesome about this place is that when the alumni come back or people come back, when I would go on the road recruiting, I would go to the Enterprise. I go to the desk at Enterprise, and the two people at the desk would be Penn State. They would be Penn State alums, and they just talk about Penn State and the passion. Coach Chaos, can't believe we renting you a car. I mean, it was just like everywhere you went. And then I'll tell you a funny story. When I first got to Penn State, I mean on the job like a week, and I'm learning the VR thing, and I don't really know it. I know it now. And I walked through the airport, and someone goes, "We are." I just gave them a thumbs up, and they kind of looked at me like, "What the heck was that, man?"
Excuse me?
So yeah. So I Googled it, and they said, the protocol. We are Penn State. We are is 3 times, and then thank you. You're welcome. I was like, okay, I got it.
Now I got it.
Yeah, but I tell you.
That person probably now, I hope they see this and they're like, okay, now it makes sense. Now we
Yeah, I threw them off, but and then to see the story come out about Wally Triplett and where the saying originated from, and I actually my pregame speech at the Cotton Bowl tied all that in, with Wally Triplett and him playing in the Cotton Bowl, and just the history and how we affect history. That's pretty cool to be a part of that, though.
Yeah, it is. And I think it is so unique. And that's something about coming from Penn State where everybody is always so connected. And no matter who you reach out to, they're always excited to help Penn Staters. And you are a prime example of that in my life. You've already impacted me and offered a helping hand all the time. So I thank you for that. And Nittany Nation will never forget Coach Chaos at all. And the legacy of the Wild Dogs will live on. So thank you, Coach, for all of that. I really appreciate that.
Thank
As
you.
a Penn State fan in person.
Appreciate you, Ham. Thank that.
No problem. Yeah, the New York Giants fan base, the players, the organization in itself is lucky to have Coach Spencer Chaos. And thank you so much for being here with me today. I wish you absolute best.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That has been Hear Them Out with Hannah Mears.